Hi, I'm Rachel, and this is my AM reading video for Friday, May 15th, 2026, going up on a Saturday. Well, my thought with making these videos is that I was hoping I might be able to film them Friday morning and post them Saturday morning, but as always, my timing, or as usual, my timing is a bit off. I'm actually filming this late Friday night, and I'm hoping to quickly film, make this short and sweet, and then go ahead and edit and schedule it to post tomorrow, hoping that at the time this is posting tomorrow, I will personally be very well on my way to the Gaithersburg Book Festival, which I'm so excited about, and it's one of my staples of the year. But before I get to that, I wanted to round out my reading week, which ended a little later than I hoped, in part because I was slowly finishing up one of the things I'll be talking about just now. But the first thing I'll be talking about is a literary journal short story, because that's how I open all of my AM reading videos. I read from literary journal short stories, and this currently I am reading from Frankly Feminist, which is an anthology of stories that appeared in the Jewish women's magazine Lilith. And this is a bit of an interesting, geeky one. This is In Vegas this year by Adrienne Sharp, which is an excerpt of Sharp's novel, which is actually The Magnificent Esme Wells, which I just read a couple months ago. So what do you know? So, I'm pretty biased about this. I don't think I could, I don't really think I could think about this short story out of context, I guess, because I know where it comes from. The Magnificent Esme Wells is a historical fiction novel about a Jewish girl who has these eccentric parents. One is a wannabe actress, starlet, who, works sort of in the chorus line in the 30s in Hollywood. And then by the 40s, her father, Esme's father, who was a bit of a gambler and so forth in the 30s, he's graduated, as you will, to be one of Bugsy Siegel's right-hand men as he opens up the Flamingo Hotel in Las Vegas in the budding days of the Las Vegas show business days. Bugsy Siegel was a real-life character, and of course, yeah, and then there's other characters, mobsters and others in here who are real as well. Also, a bunch of fictional characters like Esme Wells, and this is a bit of a exciting, I'd say, Bildungsroman, but also a bit of a dangerous one, which has been, it's on my mind, especially in this short story segment for some reasons that actually will come up later in this video about sort of the dangers for women and young girls. And there's even a line in here that stuck with me from the novel about how these mobster men want to protect young girls but prey on women. And Esme Wells within this scene is really on the cusp of that. She's joined as a showgirl. She's about 15 at this point, and she's kind of being groomed by Siegel at this time. He's still kind of treating her as a little girl, his baby E, but he's actually not the, top dog of this story anyway, where Meyer Lansky comes to put together basically the entertainment with the idea, what they want to do with the entertainment is ensure that the customers will spend, as much as possible. And then there's a fictional gangster, Nate Stein, who is also in this scene. And technically they're looking at these acts that are going to be on the stage of the Flamingo. But Esme is in the corner doing her dance moves, and she catches Nate's attention. And so it's foreshadowing about the new, more womanly role that she'll be taking with these men. But it's a dangerous place to be because they're sexualizing her. So anyway, that's what's going on. And so, it just reminded me that I read and enjoyed this book a couple of months ago. In fact, I now have the book available for sale on my Panko store in case you're interested. I have a bunch of other books as well that I've talked about on this channel as I'm trying to basically, weed out some of my collection. So I'll link to my Panko bookstore down below. So the novel I finished this week, pretty late in the day today, frankly, is The Wilderness by Angela Flournoy. This was on my resolutions list for anticipated 2025 release that I wanted to read. Although technically I don't think I talked about this book in any of my 2025 like anticipated videos or anything like that, but I decided to tack it on to my resolutions because I read and enjoyed Angela Flournoy's debut novel, The Turner House, and so here's her second novel, which is similar-ish literary fiction. This one follows a group of Black American female friends, tracing them from their 20s to their 40s, except that it's very much told in vignette style, almost like short stories, popping along, head hopping from character to character, and not being told in chronological order. It's a lot like, I think, Fiona and Jane, which I read recently, which kind of does the same thing with two Taiwanese American characters. But anyway, so we're following these four friends, give or take. We open with a very emotional scene where Desiree, in I think 2008, is taking her grandfather to Zurich to do an assisted suicide because he is dying. And it brings up a lot of tensions with her already estranged sister Danielle, who doesn't think that Desiree and the grandfather should be doing this, and she's a little more religious and that sort of thing. And so the sisters are estranged. They were essentially raised by their grandparents. They had their mother who died and their father who left. And then anyway, the major impetus, though, is that it turns out that, they're in the middle of all this, angst about what they're doing, Desiree and the grandfather abroad, and it turns out the grandfather then dies of natural causes on the train, which in a way takes away, I think, that final moment of, how complicit is Desiree, although this is something that, stays with her and is like an moment throughout the rest of the story. As she comes back to the States, she is, then partying through her 20s with her friends and dealing with, she and then they as well are dealing with, their relationships, their friendships, their romantic relationships, their jobs and careers. And so we see them, kind of questioning that in their 20s and then come back to them in their 30s and 40s to see where they ended up. We have characters, they're gay, they're straight, one of them is a restaurateur who is trying to get her restaurant off the ground. Another is struggling with if she wants to maintain a romantic relationship as she gets pregnant by the man. Another one is sort of librarian turned influencer, and we see her chapters a lot through her blog posts. And I struggled with this one. I feel like I didn't connect to the characters that much. It makes me a little bit of an outlier. I think a lot of people really praise this book and the ruminative literary writing. I mean, this definitely is a step up from the novel that I read and reviewed last week, which was much more pedestrian, and this one wasn't pedestrian, but I still had a lot of trouble really caring about the characters, and the through line wasn't as compact, I think, as the Turner House, which granted I don't remember a lot of the specifics of the Turner House anymore, which I read several years ago, but I do remember that we were following members of a family, doing head hopping again as well, but I feel like I was just much more compelled by their situations and what they were going through, and that it just felt more, centered and compact, whereas this one, things kind of jumped all over the place. We had the personal moments, the moments of growing up, and then it really took a much more significant shift into the political, including with the sort of climactic moment, which was very political. So, I don't know, this one just didn't work as well for me. And finally, I'm going to talk about the memoir I'm in the middle of listening to here on Libby. This is Nobody's Girl by Virginia Giuffre. This is a very harrowing book, and this is what I was alluding to with my short story from the novel that I read, because it is also about the sexualization of young girls and very predatory actions by powerful men. It's a very haunting memoir chronicling perhaps one of Jeffrey Epstein's most famous victims. But that is all I will say about the memoir in the context of this video, because I am reading it for the BookTube Prize. So the BookTube Prize was started by Robert Sheard back in 2019 as a way for the literary bookternet to come together and judge the best of literary fiction and nonfiction published in the US the year before in English. So anyway, we are now judging 2025 releases. We start with long lists of 48 books per division, and through 4 rounds we whittle them down till we get to winners and runners-up that will be announced in October. So we are currently in the second of the 4 rounds, the quarterfinals, and I am reading in the nonfiction division, and I was given Group A, which means that I have a ballot of 6 books that I have to compare against each other privately to myself, zip my lips, not give any of my opinions very much beforehand. So then, I go ahead at the end of this month, I have to submit my ballot about which books I want to advance to the next round. I did make a preliminary thoughts video about my ballot, so I'll link to that video down below, as well as more information on the BookTube Prize. And that about covers it for me now. I will also link to the Goodreads reviews of the books I already talked about down below. And other than that, expect to see me back on this channel to actually recap the Gaithersburg Book Festival. It's another exciting thing I like to do with that festival, is go ahead and try to bring you along a little bit. I'm going to have some panels that I want to go to. I have some books I want to get signed. I'm very excited. This is absolutely one of my staples of the year. And the weather, I think, is going to be pretty nice. Hopefully. Hopefully I didn't just jinx it there with that. But I'd love to hear about what you've been reading and any literary events that you're looking forward to. And in the meantime, thanks so much for watching, everyone, and I'll see you next time.